Good evening, and I want to thank the committee that invited me down. I spent quite a bit of time in Arizona over the last 40 years working on a variety of projects, but I never got down into this neck of the woods, and am incredibly impressed. Even more so visiting the mine site, which is a little hidden treasure, and having explained to me what's proposed at that site just left me both in awe at the destruction that's proposed and flabbergasted. But what I primarily want to talk about is the economics. The reason, of course, that we're talking about the mine is that Rosemont, like many mining companies, have presented mining, especially mining at this site at this time, as an offer that's just almost too good to pass up. Something that no responsible citizen or government official or civic organization would want to say no to. Number one, the suggestion is that there's incredible concentrated wealth there. The development of that wealth, the extraction of that wealth will create a significant number of high-wage jobs, as with most mining ventures, the government, both state and local governments, really become partners. We tend to tax mining in a way to support appropriately, I think, our schools, public services, state government, etc. And given all the wealth that's going to be produced, given all the expensive equipment that's going to be there, significant tax revenues will be flowing to the government, helping cover the costs of providing those services and reducing taxes. The argument that it was made this morning at one of the presentations by one of the people that's been working with Rosemont on the mine is that after all, mines disturb only a very little area, and that's almost by definition, once you believe it's concentrated wealth, and all you have to do is disturb that small area, how could somebody be worried about that small disturbance given all the wealth that will be produced? And finally, the economics aren't usually emphasized in mining development. Usually the debate is over environmental impacts and whether the mitigation measures or the technology being used is going to work. I think because of the recession, the Great Recession, and especially the trauma it's imposed on Arizona, and especially the Tucson and Phoenix area, the mining company realizes how uncertain people are about whether and when the Tucson economy is going to recover. And so the economics, the jobs and the revenues that this mine will generate has been emphasized, I think, partly because people are so scared or frustrated with a deep recession, a great recession, and the very slow recovery in terms of jobs. Next slide. Okay, I'm just going to walk through these because it's sort of an outline of the issues I'm going to discuss, and then I'll turn and talk about each of them. First of all, mining is not now and is not under any foreseeable circumstances going to be a significant part of the Tucson area economic base. Secondly, mineral deposits aren't always, in fact, most mineral deposits don't represent wealth because the cost of extracting it is greater than the value of the mineral. That's why those minerals are still where they are, even though we've known that they're there for a long time. And across the nation, there's deposit after deposit like that has sat undeveloped simply because the costs don't justify the extraction of them. Arizona, as a copper state, as a metal mining state, should have firmly in its memory that metal mining is a very cyclical industry, lurching from boom to bust. And I think that's important to keep in mind when you're reading projections of large numbers of jobs projected indefinitely into the future, or revenues to government projected smoothly indefinitely into the future, or income smoothly flowing to people across 20 or 30 years. In addition, metal mining is something that human beings have been doing since prehistoric times, and we've gotten better and better at it. In particular, we've gotten better and better at displacing workers and producing large quantities of metal using a smaller and smaller workforce. That's important in facing what the future economic impacts of the mine is going to be. There will be significant environmental damage. I have not seen a copper town or a copper mine where the environmental impact has been less than what was projected or at what's projected. There's almost always significant environmental impacts, and that really ought to be the focus of our discussion rather than what will turn out to be a very small number of jobs. That environmental damage, and this is going to be one of my key issues I'm going to be emphasizing, is not just aesthetic in nature. It's not just about protecting pretty playgrounds for those who are affluent enough to be able to enjoy this part of Arizona's outdoors. That environmental damage is not an aesthetic issue, or in addition to being an aesthetic issue, it's a serious economic issue. That's going to be one of the fundamental points I'm going to focus on. And finally, the recession is a short-run event lasting a year or two. This mine is going to be around 20 or 30 years, depending on what happens in copper markets. One can't look at one as a solution for the other. Copper mine's a long-run investment. The recession here will be over before any copper is produced. It doesn't represent a way of stopping recessions, national recessions, from impacting the greater Tucson area. Next slide.